dear student, in the first lecture of molecular spectroscopy, page 5502, we have discussed the salient features of rotational spectra. I just recall the important features. That number one, that rotational spectra will arise when molecule makes a transition from one rotational level to other rotational level. So rotational spectra arise due to the transition of the molecule between rotational levels. So when molecule makes a transition from one rotational level to other rotational level, the rotational spectra is produced. Second, rotational spectra falls in far infrared region or microwave region. Rotational spectra falls in far infrared or microwave region. Third important thing is that the basic requirement for rotational spectra is that molecule must possess a permanent dipole moment. Means heteronuclear molecule possess the permanent dipole moment, so they will give the rotational spectra. Homonuclear molecule will not give the rotational spectra because they do not possess the dipole moment. And fourth, when we study the rotational energy, rotational spectra, you will come to know that rotational spectra is composed of a series of equidistant lines. These lines are called rotational lines. From the study of rotational spectra, we can calculate moment of inertia of the molecule and internuclear distance r between two atoms of the molecule. So from the study of rotational spectra, two important quantities, moment of inertia of molecule and internuclear distance between two atoms of the molecule, can be calculated. So today we will solve the Schrodinger equation for molecule and obtain the rotational energy of the molecule. So next article is molecule as a rigid rotator. And explanation of rotational spectra. So in this article we will learn the explanation, means how the rotational spectra arise due to the transition of molecule between two rotational energy levels. Okay. Last, in the previous lecture, I told you that molecule has two atoms. In the last lecture, we have discussed that molecule has two atoms rigidly held together because the internuclear distance r is constant, and this molecule is rotating about an axis passing through the center of mass. So molecule is a chemical bonding of two atoms. So these two atoms of the molecule are rigidly held together and capable of rotating about an axis passing through the center of mass. Due to the rotation of the molecule, molecule has rotational energy. But in order to obtain the rotational energy of the molecule, we have to solve the Schrodinger equation for rigid rotator. Now this molecule will be considered as a rigid rotator because in molecule two atoms are chemically bonded, rigidly held together with a constant internuclear distance r and rotating about an axis passing through the center of mass. So this molecule can be considered as a rigid rotator. So in order to obtain the rotational energy of the molecule, we will solve the Schrodinger equation of a rigid rotator. So let us now obtain possible rotational energy of the molecule by solving the Schrodinger equation of rigid rotator. So we will start with, we consider the atomic molecule as a rigid rotator So we can apply the rigid rotator model to the molecule and we can solve the Schrodinger equation of a rigid rotator for the molecule, because molecule can be considered as a rigid rotator. So let us start with the Schrodinger equation of a rigid rotator is del square psi plus 8 pi square mu upon h square E minus B psi is equal to 0. Okay, in this this is the Schrodinger equation of a rigid rotator. We can apply this equation to a diatomic molecule. So del square psi plus 8 pi square mu upon h square E minus V psi is equal to 0. Where psi, okay, you should know the meaning of this term. Psi is the wave function of the molecule. Mu is the reduced mass of the molecule. H, you know by Planck constant, is the total energy of the molecule. V is the potential energy of the molecule. And psi again the wave function of the molecule. Okay. Now, in rigid rotator, R is fixed. Therefore, potential energy will be 0. For rigid rotator, R is fixed. Therefore, potential energy of the molecule is 0. So we can put the potential energy of the molecule is 0. So now equation becomes del square psi plus 8 pi square mu upon h square E psi is equal to 0. So R is fixed, therefore potential energy will be 0. Okay. Now we write this equation in spherical polar coordinates. In spherical polar coordinates, you know the value of del square. In spherical polar coordinates, you know the value of del square. It is 1 upon r square d by dr, r square d by dr. So I write the value of del square operator in spherical polar coordinates. It is like this: 1 upon r square d by dr, r square d by dr plus 1 upon r square sin theta d by d theta sin theta d by d theta plus 1 upon r square sin square theta d square upon d phi square. And this del square operator is operating on psi. In Cartesian coordinate, del square operator is defined as d square upon dx square plus d square upon dy square plus d square upon dz square. In spherical polar coordinate, the del square operator is written as 1 upon r square d by dr, r square d by dr, 1 upon r square sin theta d by d theta, sin theta d by d theta plus 1 upon r square sin square d square upon d phi square. It is operating on psi. Plus, second term I write as it is, plus 8 pi square mu upon h square E psi is equal to 0. So this is the Schrodinger equation in spherical polar coordinates of a rigid rotator or diatomic molecule. Now R is fixed. Please, R is fixed. When R is constant, then R derivative will be 0. Because in rigid rotator, R is fixed. If R is fixed, means R is constant, then derivative of a constant term is always 0. So derivative of the first thing, R derivative will be 0. So first term will not be there in this equation. Okay, so now the equation will be written as 1 upon r square sin theta d by d theta sin theta d by d theta. This R derivative term will be 0 because R is constant. And this operator is operating on wave function psi. So I write here, this operator is operating on wave function psi plus 1 upon r square sin square theta d square upon d phi square. The d square upon d phi square operator is also operating on the function psi plus 8 pi square mu e upon s square psi is equal to 0. So this is your Schrodinger equation for rigid rotator. Now, you know that moment of inertia of the molecule is defined as mu r square. Moment of inertia of the molecule is mu r square. Therefore, value of reduced mass mu comes out to be I upon r square. I will put this value of reduced mass I upon r square in this equation. inertia of the molecule I is equal to V r square. So value of reduced mass mu is I upon r square. So I put the value of reduced mass mu is equal to I upon r square. I upon r square. That is the value of reduced mass mu. That I will substitute in the last step. Now, if you multiply this equation with r square, then r square upon r square will be cancelled. Here also r square upon r square will be cancelled. R square upon r square is not there. Okay, so this will be the equation. If you multiply with r square, your equation becomes 1 upon sin theta d by d theta sin theta d psi by d theta plus 1 upon sin square theta d square psi upon d phi square plus 8 pi square I upon s square psi is equal to 0. Okay, so this is the Schrodinger equation of a rigid rotator which we can apply for a molecule. Now, solution of this equation, psi is separated into two parts. One part of the solution is theta part and the second part of the solution is phi part. That method is known as separation of variable. You studied that method. So, by separation of variable, the total solution psi of the Schrodinger equation is separated into two parts. One part of the solution is theta, which is a function of theta only, and the other part of the solution is phi, which is a function of phi only. Okay. So this is the equation 1 is the Schrodinger equation of rigid rotator, and its solution psi r theta phi is separated into two parts, theta part and phi part. Now I substitute this solution in the Schrodinger equation. Please remember here that theta is only the function of theta, it is not depending on phi, and this phi is only the function of phi, it is independent of theta. So now let us put this solution into the Schrodinger equation 1. Substituting solution into Schrodinger equation 1. So if you substitute the solution of Schrodinger equation into the equation, what you get? 1 upon sin theta d by d theta sin theta d by d theta. Now our solution psi is made up of two parts, separated into two parts, theta part and phi part. But here in the first term we have theta derivative, so for theta derivative phi part will be constant. Okay, so this d by d theta operator will operate on capital theta and phi part will be constant, because this is a theta derivative, and for theta derivative phi will be constant because phi is not depending on theta. So d by d theta operator operates on theta part and phi will be constant. Similarly, in the second term, plus 1 upon sin square theta d square upon d phi square. Now this is a phi derivative. Phi derivative means it depends on phi derivative. Theta will be constant. So this d by d phi operator is operating on phi. Your d by d theta operator is operating on theta, at that time phi is constant. In the second term, d by d phi operator is operating on phi, and at that time theta will be constant. And last term, plus 8 pi square I e upon s square. Now the psi is separated into two parts, theta part and psi part. So theta and phi, that is equal to 0. So this becomes your Schrodinger equation by putting the solution. Okay, now if you multiply this equation, with sin square theta upon capital theta phi, so multiplying it sin square theta upon capital theta capital phi. If I multiply this equation with a term sin square theta upon capital theta into capital phi, what we get? This sin square theta upon sin theta will be sin theta. This phi is cancelled, so upon capital theta. If you multiply the first term with sin square theta upon capital theta into phi, you will get this sin theta upon capital theta d by d theta sin theta d by d theta operating on theta. This phi is cancelled. So this is the first term plus this sin square theta upon sin square theta is going to be cancelled. Theta upon theta is going to be cancelled. So we have d square phi upon d phi square. But 1 upon phi is there. So sin square theta upon sin square theta is cancelled. Theta is cancelled. So we are left with 1 upon phi d square phi upon d phi square. Last term 8 pi square ie upon s square. If you multiply with sin square theta upon theta into phi, this theta into phi is going to be cancelled. So we have only sin square theta is equal to 0. So if you multiply the above equation throughout by sin square theta upon capital theta phi, you will get this equation. Okay. Now I reshuffle this equation. I am taking the middle term on the right hand side. If you take the middle term on the right hand side, if you take the middle term on the right hand side, it will become minus 1 upon phi d square phi upon d phi square. Okay, so this is the equation after multiplying with sin square theta upon capital theta into phi. Okay. You can see that left hand side of this equation is independent of phi. It depends only on theta. You can see this sin theta is a function of theta, this sin theta is a function of theta, this capital theta is also a function of theta. So it depends only on theta, it does not depend on phi. If you see the right hand side, the right hand side of this equation contains only phi part. It depends only on phi. So you can say it is independent of theta. So what is the characteristics of this equation? The left hand side of this equation depends only on theta. It is independent of phi. The right hand side of this equation is depending only on phi part. It is independent of theta. But both sides are equal. If both sides are equal, we can say that they must be equal to some constant, and I denote that constant by n square. This is equation number 3. The left hand side of this equation is independent of phi. It depends only on theta. Right hand side of equation depends only on phi. It is independent of theta. But both sides are equal. Their equality implies that both sides must be equal to some constant, that is n square. I am introducing constant as n square. Okay. Now I separate this equation into two parts. If I separate equation 3 into two parts, I can write that left hand side is equal to n square, that is one equation, and right hand side is equal to n square, that is the second equation. Okay, so first I write that right hand side is equal to m square. Right hand side of the equation is minus 1 upon capital phi d square phi upon d phi square is equal to m square. That is equation number 4. And left hand side, this is the left hand side, sin theta upon capital theta d by d theta sin theta d theta by d theta plus 8 pi square I upon x square sin square theta is equal to m square. That is the another equation. Now you can see that equation 4 depends only on phi coordinate. Equation 4 depends only on phi coordinate. So you can say that it is phi part of the Schrodinger equation. It is called phi part of the Schrodinger equation. If you solve that equation, you will get the solution phi. We are just going to solve that equation, but equation 4 which is minus 1 upon phi d square phi upon d phi square m square is depends only on phi coordinate, so it is called phi part of the Schrodinger equation, and it's if you solve that equation you will get the solution phi. Here this equation phi that depends on the theta part only, it is called theta part of the equation. It is called theta part of the Schrodinger equation. If you solve this theta equation, you will get the solution capital theta. So Schrodinger equation we have separated into two parts. One part of the Schrodinger equation is phi part and its solution is phi, which we are going to obtain just now. The second part of the Schrodinger equation is theta part of the equation, and its solution is theta, that we will obtain later. Okay, now there is a slight simplification of equation 5. If you multiply by capital theta upon sin square theta, if you multiply equation 5 with capital theta upon sin square theta, you will get sin theta upon sin square theta will be, yes, theta upon theta will be cancelled, so here you will get 1 upon sin theta d by d theta sin theta d theta by d theta plus 8 pi square I upon s square. The sin square theta is going to be cancelled. Capital theta is equal to m square upon sin square theta capital theta. So if you multiply theta equation by term capital theta upon sin square theta, you will get this equation. So final equation will be 1 upon sin theta d by d theta sin theta d theta by d theta plus 8 pi square I e upon s square minus m square upon sin square theta is equal to 0. You can say so final theta equation is this: 1 upon sin theta d by d theta sin theta d theta by d theta plus 8 pi square I upon s square minus m square upon sin square theta, theta is equal to 0. This is your phi part of the Schrodinger equation. Its solution is phi, which we are going to obtain. This is the theta part of Schrodinger equation. Its solution is given by theta. Okay, so first we solve phi part of the Schrodinger equation, then theta part. Now let us start with phi part of Schrodinger equation of a rigid rotator, which is minus 1 upon phi d square phi upon d phi square is equal to m square. M square is a unknown constant that we have to obtain, which we have not obtained the value of m square. Please remember, this m square is unknown constant. We have to find out the value of unknown constant m square. Okay. Now this is a very simple equation. This is a second order differential equation. Its solution of phi equation. Solution of phi equation is phi is equal to a e raised to I am phi. This is a simple second order differential equation, just like simple harmonic oscillator, you know, d square y upon dt square plus omega square y is equal to 0. Its solution is a combination of sine function and cos function, and a combination of sine function and cos function is nothing but it is a exponential function. Okay. So solution of phi part of Schrodinger equation is a e raised to I am phi, where m is an unknown constant that we are going to determine. What is a here? A is the normalization constant. A is the normalization constant that we have to determine. Now, in order to find the value of m, we will apply one admissibility conditions on the wave function. That condition you know, that is single valued condition. Single valued condition. What is a single valued condition? Single valued condition means if you change coordinate phi by 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi or 2n pi, the function is not going to change. So in equation, single valued condition can be written as phi is equal to phi plus 2 pi. This you studied in the previous semester. That single value condition implies that the value of the function phi calculated by putting coordinate phi, and if you calculate function phi by putting phi plus 2 pi, it will remain same. 2 pi का मतलब क्या है? When you make one rotation, see this like this. Suppose in spherical polar coordinate, this is the point P. At point P, the wave function of the particle is phi. Now, when you make one rotation, and again coming back to the same point P, then angle phi is increased by phi plus 2 pi. But after making one rotation, you are coming back to the same point. If you are coming back at the same point, the wave function should not change. It has a single value. So single value condition means if you make one rotation and coming back to the same point P, the function is not going to change. So value of function phi calculated by putting phi, and value of function phi after one rotation, after increasing angle phi by 2 pi, remains same. That is known as single value condition. Okay, now I have given you the solution of phi part of Schrodinger equation is a e raised to I m phi, where a is the normalization constant for phi function, and e raised to I m phi is the exponential function. I is the imaginary number, m we are going to determine, and phi is the coordinate. Okay, now let us put these values here. Now phi, what is the value of phi? It is a e raised to I m phi. A e raised to I m phi is equal. Now when you make one rotation, your angle phi is increased by 2 pi, but after one rotation you are coming back to the same point, so function has a single value. So if you increase angle phi by 2 pi, the wave function is not going to change. That is single value condition. Okay, now what is the value of phi by putting phi plus 2 pi? It is a e raised to I n. Instead of phi, I will put phi plus 2 pi. Now you can see this a is going to be cancelled, e raised to I m phi is also going to be cancelled. So e raised to I into 2 pi m is equal to 1. Now what is the exponential function? you know e raised to I theta can be written as cos theta plus I sin theta, and e raised to minus I theta can be written as cos theta minus I sin theta. Okay, so e raised to I into 2 pi m can be written as cos 2 pi m, because e raised to I theta is defined as cos theta plus I sin theta. So e raised to I into 2 pi m can be written as cos 2 pi m plus I sin 2 pi m. It is equal to 1. Now from this equation you can determine the value of m, possible values of m. Now see, suppose I take m is equal to 0. Suppose I take m is equal to 0. Then this will be cos 0. Cos 0 is 1. This will be sin 0. Sin 0 is 0. So 1 plus 0, that comes 1. So m is equal to 0 is the possible value. Okay. Now if I take m is equal to 1, I am taking plus minus 1. M is equal to 1. Okay. Then this will be cos 2 pi. What is the value of cos 2 pi? 1. Plus sin 2 pi will be 0. So again 1 plus 0 will be 1. And if you take m is equal to plus minus 2 and put the value of m into 2, this will be cos 4 pi. Cos 4 pi is 1. I sin 4 pi will be 0. So 1 plus 0 is again 1. So if you choose the values of m 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2, if you take the values of m 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2, then this relation is satisfied. Cos 2 pi m plus I sin 2 pi m becomes 1. So these are the admissible values of m, 0, plus minus 1 and plus minus 2. You can say that m is a positive or negative integer. Okay, so we have determined the values of unknown constant m. It is a positive or negative integer having values 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2 from the single valued condition. Now, next step, we will find the normalization constant a for phi function. In order to find the normalization constant a for phi function, we have to apply normalization condition. Normalization condition. What is the normalization condition? That norm of a normalized function is always equal to 1. Okay. So, integration of phi star into phi is equal to 1. Now you can see that this solution of phi equation depends on m, so you can put subscript as m here, because solution of phi part of the equation depends on m, so you can put subscript as m here also. This is the normalization condition for phi function, that integration of phi star phi into phi d phi is equal to 1. You are familiar that limit of phi is always from 0 to 2 pi. In spherical polynomial, limit of theta is from 0 to pi and limit of phi is from 0 to 2 pi. Okay. Now let us put the values of phi function. Integration of, yes. What is phi? Phi is a e raised to I m phi. So first I put the value of phi. It is a e raised to I m phi. Okay. Now I put the value of its complex conjugate phi star. Know that in order to take a complex conjugate, plus I is replaced by minus I. So its complex conjugate will be a star. The complex conjugate of e raised to I m phi is e raised to minus I m phi. D phi is equal to 1. So complex conjugate of phi function is a star e raised to minus I m phi. Phi function itself is a e raised to I m phi is equal to 1. The limit of phi is from 0 to 2 pi. This e raised to plus I m phi minus I m phi is cancelled. Therefore, you will get A into A star will be A square. Integration of d phi is equal to 1. It is to plus I m phi minus m is cancelled. So A square integration of d phi is equal to 1. Okay. A square, you know very well, integral d phi is 5 from 0 to 2 pi is equal to 1. Integral d phi is 5 from 0 to 2 pi. So A square, if you put the upper and lower limit, A square into 2 pi is equal to 1. Therefore, normalization constant A will be 1 upon under root 2 pi. So this is the normalization constant for phi function. This is the normalization constant for phi function. Okay. If you put this normalization constant in this equation, phi equation, you will get the normalized phi function. So I write normalized solution of phi equation is I put the value of A. The normalization constant for phi function is 1 upon under root 2 pi. 1 upon under root 2 pi e raised to I m phi. The solution phi depends on m, so I put subscript as m. Okay, we have also calculated the value of m from the single value condition, that m is positive or negative integer having values 0, plus minus 1, plus minus 2. Okay, so this is the solution of phi part of the equation. Theta function ले लो, theta function बाकी है। लेकिन अब वो ठीक है इसमें। कितने डाल दिए? 50 मिनट तक चले थे। So okay, so here we have separated Schrodinger equation into two parts, theta part and phi part. Out of two parts, we have solved phi part. In this lecture, in the next lecture, we will solve theta part. And if you combine that two solution, phi solution and theta solution, you will get the solution psi of the Schrodinger equation. That we will take in the next lecture. Thank you very much.